Hi, I'm Terry Blaze, Managing Director of Freight 365. I'm here with my colleague today.
I'm Glenister, far superior cart driver.
It's true, I can't deny it. Today we're going to talk about moving hazardous cargo. Both being trained within the office. I know we've got quite a lot of experience with it.
Indeed.
Let's go through some of the issues that we may face moving hazardous cargo. So Adam, DG Cargo, where do we start? Where is this going to cause a problem in the supply chain and the movement of your goods?
I mean, right out the bat,
Yeah.
it's gonna have an effect on the whole supply chain. I mean, very few people within the companies, people shipping internationally, have a person of hazardous training.
But you should, right?
Yeah, you should. Obviously, you may not have that in place if you're not aware. One of the problem we're talking about now, and we'll come on to that a little bit later, but it can be understood why there's so many new products on the market as to why maybe you might not be aware that it is HAZ. But there are some things to look out for, some things that may trigger a sort of reaction and maybe make you think, this could be hazardous.
Like what? So you're the importer, the exporter. Where's the red flag?
I mean, things such as compressed gases.
So aerosols, deodorants, things like that. You've got liquids.
Yeah, any sort of liquids.
Perfumes.
Yeah, perfumes, soaps.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'd say toxic waste.
It pops up. Yeah, it pops up. You've got batteries.
Yeah, anything in laptops, mobile phones, any sort of equipment like that.
Yeah.
Even
food stuff.
Yeah, food stuff like flour. You may not think flour could be hazardous, but
actually it is.
It is. There's been some incidents with that, which that's something you really need to be careful of. So there's a lot of these items and things to look out for, which would just set you on the right track to making sure that you're able to classify or even just start to identify whether your freight may be hazardous.
So even though your procurement team has got a fantastic new product, we're bringing it in, it's already on the production line. If you spot or you feel like you may have spotted a red flag, ask a question.
Yeah.
Speak to
your freight forwarder.
Right, because he's going to be the guy that has to move it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've identified or we've spotted a potential that this cargo might be hazardous. Now we need to move it. It's ready to go or nearly ready to go at your supplier's door. What are we doing next?
I mean, the first step is talk to your forwarder. If they have the right people in place, the right training, as should anyone involved in your supply chain, your movement of your cargo.
That's a really good point.
Should have the adequate training, the correct training, and if you give them even just a brief description of your cargo, if they are trained correctly, they probably would be able to spot straight out the bat that.
Yeah, they should have some kind of idea. Yes, no.
Yeah, and again, if they're unsure, next step would be they would probably request a document such as an MSDS or an SDS.
What's that?
Well, that's a sort of document which say, I know you know that. Sort of a document which, a safety data sheet or a material safety data sheet, which is just a document which identifies various elements of that product. And one of the most key parts of that document for us as forwarders and for the movement of that freight within the supply chain is Section 14, which gives you an indication of a UN number and a class, which is very important. If that is on there, you will be able to spot it. Certainly, if you forwarded that to your forwarder, they would definitely be able to spot it, and they would then be able to tell you this is regulated cargo, has cargo, or unregulated, and that would also then play into pricing because with has cargoes, there are certain additional handling charges and additional check charges that come along with the movement of has cargo. So it's very important to have it straight out the bat.
Right, because it might need to be stored at a correct temperature. It might need to be stored in a certain location.
Yeah.
These are important things to
Might
know.
need to be packed correctly, depending on the severity of the hazard.
Yeah, and the type of packing used, because some of it, I know they call it fiberboard boxes, but really it's just nice cardboard.
Yeah.
But you might have drums. You might have what other kinds of packing are there? Drums.
Jerry cans.
Yeah, the jerry cans.
You've got glass bottles. There's so many different packaging, and even things such as dry ice can be also classed as hazardous, even if the item you're not shipping
is dry ice, because it's packed in dry ice. You then need to be aware of that as well.
Exactly.
Is there an instance where you might get a SDS or an MSDS, and actually the cargo's not hazardous?
Yeah, there's plenty of times. Hazardous freight is such a complex, organism, if you will, that there are certain elements that it may be hazardous on one mode of transport, but it isn't hazardous on another mode of transport.
Yeah.
So, dependent on what you're looking to do, it might not be hazardous. It might just not be hazardous at all. That's why it's very important to speak to the right forwarder to make sure that they understand hazardous freight. That's why here in our team we have two experts, myself and you, who have done the training. We know cargo. We know how to look for the right things to make sure that we're identifying your freight and making sure that it ships correctly.
Yeah, the most important thing is safety.
Yeah.
If everybody knows what they should be doing, you can avoid potential issues. None of this putting flammable liquids in the same carton as an aerosol, not marking it. We haven't even touched on labelling, correct labelling. But definitely, if you're working with hazardous cargo, you think it might be hazardous cargo, speak to your forwarder, get the training, make sure you do things properly. Yeah, no risks.
All of those would not necessarily, but doing all that stuff will turn what might be a very hazardous cargo into just cargo. If it's done properly, it's just cargo.
Yeah, of course, it's safe to move as long as you move it correctly.